Welcome, everybody, to an extra special edition of Greg Heym's Crossing the Line. We're here at Inman Connect 2026, here in beautiful Midtown Manhattan at the Hilton. And as always, Loan Daddy, Scott Nadler from CrossCountry Mortgage, or as we call him, the hair of the show. How you doing, buddy?
I am fantastic. Had some travel issues getting here, but I'm happy to be here. They need to shovel the snow, I gotta tell you. Because you can't cut across.
There's no jaywalking. No jaywalking in New York
You gotta go
City.
all around. So I could have been here 3 minutes earlier. But
Are you up to date on all the NBA trades? Because a bunch of them just happened.
What happened today?
Anthony Davis.
I did not see that. I'm not up to date then.
Still overvalued.
We will have to convene.
And our attorney in this corner, as I call him, the Sarge, you can call him Shahriar Sedgh.
There you go.
Of Sedgh and Zuckerman, Esquire. How are you, Shar, today?
Amazing. I got here a little bit earlier. We got to see a little bit of the event.
We got to yell at you on the escalator behind us saying, Shar.
Yeah, that is true.
And Ray goes, you're going to go after him? I go, no.
Let him figure it out.
He'll find his way.
Some amazing booths. It's nice to see some people who are adversaries throughout the year, and you sort of get to chat with them.
Wait, there's more lawyers here?
There are.
Oh,
there
man,
are,
no,
there
that's
are.
not good.
But it's great to see everybody sort of like on a personal level, not, hiding behind their computers on different transactions.
Well, it is good when everybody gets together and you get to hear speakers and film podcasts. So we're not in Studio 1873, so I can skip that line. But Ray will clap anyway, because he's that kind of guy. Thank you, buddy. So I guess the big story for me and the show is we know who the next Fed chairman is going to be. It's going to be Kevin Warsh. We knew it was a 50-50 Kevin thing. Once Kevin Hassett was kind of told, no, we're keeping you in your position.
Right.
And he's a lawyer, Shar. What is this that we're picking lawyers upon lawyers?
You're just upset that you're starting to realize it's more likely that I'm going to become the Fed chairman before you will be.
I mean, yeah, but I got to think you're going to be texting me going, what should I say, Greg? I don't know what to say.
Life is filled with disappointments. Get ready for it.
Now, Kevin Warsh is very well suited. He was the youngest Fed governor ever. He's only 35. He studied economics. He's worked for some of the most prestigious people in finance.
Also, he was the Fed governor 2006 to 2011. So he experienced the financial crisis, went through all that. So
worked close hand
he's
in hand.
He's battle tested
with Bernanke. And I think he's a candidate that the markets really like. I think but it's funny because it's almost like I picked him. And what do we talk about a lot on the show? No, but he was all for quantitative easing in the wake of the Great Recession. But even before we warned after COVID, he was warning about rampant inflation.
Right.
He's saying that the Fed's balance sheet, which used to be under $1 trillion for the financial crisis, made it to $9 trillion, now is about $6.5 trillion, is still way too big. Because as we know, it's that spending of them buying the treasuries that keeps the government printing money, doesn't it, Scott Nadler?
Absolutely does. I got to say, I like the pick. I like everything that Warsh has said so far. Obviously, once he's officially confirmed and starts the job, he's going to have to get to work. But what I like about him is he seems very focused on the fiscal policy of what the Fed is supposed to be doing. He's not talking about getting into politics of it and doing other things that the Fed has been doing over the last couple of years.
Right.
And I like that. It was funny. I was at an engagement party a couple weeks ago, and I met a guy there, and we started talking. I asked him what he does for work. This guy probably mentioned 8 different jobs. He's a writer, he's a producer, he's an inventor, he's an investor. He's like the jack of all trades, but a master of none. And for Warsh, if you look at his resume, he's really, again, what we just said, he was a Fed governor. He's worked for, what did he work for? For Druckenmiller for years.
As have a lot of people.
He's very tied into economic policy, very tied into the Fed.
Right.
So overall, I think
and
it is
very well respected.
On both sides.
And they say he's like next level when it comes to his intelligence and his ability. He's not about politics, but he can play the political game, they say, as well as anybody.
We also talked about, I said the best advice that I've gotten in my career is to quiet the noise.
Yeah.
And I think what we've had a Fed for several years that reacts to the noise. And I think Warsh is someone who will quiet that and just focus on what their agenda is, which I'm excited to see.
So, Shar, I have a question for you. So, obviously, being picked by this administration, he's expected to deliver rate cuts almost instantaneously, which could be until he takes office in May. That's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, I think from the outside looking in, my curiosity is really based on whether is he going to kiss the ring and sort of do what he's told, or is he going to, sort of act a little bit independent and true to his role? And the other question is, how much does he really get to influence these decisions when you have a board that has to vote on it?
And has already shown dissension is becoming more common these days.
Yeah, exactly. So I think from that perspective, that's the curiosity that I have. I don't think this has really changed the market on the streets as far as I'm concerned, as far as closings and deals that need to be done. I would love to hear more about him when my interest rates drop a little bit, and we know that's still a ways from happening.
Well, the hard thing is going to be convincing everybody that you're doing or setting these policies or pushing these rate cuts because you believe in them, and I think he has a record of that. I mean, he's been on both sides of it. He loved quantitative easing, and then he realized the Fed shouldn't be buying this much in bonds. It's encouraging the government to spend more. Do we need to be? And remember, the Fed has been losing trillions of dollars on their investments. So I think a lot of us would like to see that balance sheet continue to go down a little bit. And one doesn't have anything to do with the other. They can cut rates and reduce their balance sheet at the same time. The issue is, I'm sure there's a lot of potential home buyers out there, and maybe I don't think you're hearing this just yet, who are probably saying, all right, there's a new Fed chair, so when are rates coming down?
Definitely heard that.
Okay.
We're reaching out. We have a lot of clients right now who are in the money, right? They're eligible to refinance now and save a lot of money, and a lot of them do want to wait and see what ends up happening. Going back to what Shar said, though, that kissing the ring, like bowing down to the king and acquiescing to what the administration is saying, I think this is a little different. The reason I say that is because think about it like in school. You were probably the class clown, right? There's probably someone like you could think about. I can actually imagine both of you. I can imagine both of you kind of being the class clown. And
no, I was a quarterback of the football.
I was the captain of the basketball team, the jock.
So,
or did they use your head for the basketball? Which one was it?
You probably had a big fro back then. A teacher's gonna treat that class clown differently than they would that straight A student who just does everything that is being told. Under Powell, we had inflation run to a 40-year high.
9%.
9%.
Because you didn't read my blog.
So, correct. So, we've said this before, but, you're bringing in you're asking the Fed to be the fireman when they were previously the arsonist. And so for the administration to be really hard on the Fed to say, hey, you guys need to act in a certain way because you were the ones that caused this to happen right now, it's a little different. So I think coming in with a clean slate, saying, hey, we trust that you're going to make the right decisions for us, prove it. If things start to go haywire, we may need to step in and say something. How can we not? But I'd like to think that if, Warsh is someone who has such a proven track record. He's not just an attorney, not like there's anything wrong with that.
That's yet to be seen.
Well, you have to. He's going to have to realize
he's got to reclaim that an attorney can do this job because the current person
his biggest advocate and his biggest critic can be the same person.
Yeah.
And that person has the biggest megaphone in the world right now.
100%.
And I can't imagine he's not going to work every day with that hanging in the balance.
But he seems like the kind of guy who can just live with it. I don't think he's going to be, oh no, what if I'm not doing what they want me to do? I don't think that crosses.
I hope
because
so.
Just like a lot of people that turn over into these public service jobs, they can make a lot more money in the private sector. They don't need to do this. They want to do this. There's a good relationship apparently with other parts involved here that could help.
Right.
Now, again, they should have picked me, but since they didn't, he's a really good choice. A lot of the things he's talking about are things I would push for. Reduce your balance sheet. You don't need to be holding $6.5 trillion. That's ridiculous. Don't worry about inflation getting down to 2%. It's an arbitrary number that you just not you, but the Fed is picked out of midair.
Right.
We know why the number is artificially high. Housing is still an issue. It's accounting for virtually all the monthly increases. We're still flying blind on data. We have another shutdown. We're not going to have a jobs report on Friday because of it. And the weird thing is it's not being delayed a couple of days. It's coming out, I think it's a week from today.
Right.
So,
but the ADP again, right? The ADP numbers are the de facto jobs numbers that we're going to go off of.
And that's a good transition, Scott.
Actually, one thing I wanted to ask you though before we go into that, he still needs to get. The Senate still needs to confirm him. So what are some of the arguments that you've seen against him? We just kind of, all of us said, there's a lot of things that we like about him.
Well, without getting into details, there's a concern about certain action that was taken against the Federal Reserve for their renovation.
Right.
There's been people saying they're not going to do anything until that's been quashed, so to speak.
So those are wholly unrelated to his...
Yeah.
To his role and qualifications, but you're right, that is a big issue.
You can't say he doesn't have the resume. Nobody could say that. But as is often is the case, these things can turn dark during these confirmation hearings, and questions completely unrelated to the job can get asked. So that'll be the fun part. But I think he has a lot of respect among the markets. They like the pick. So I would be shocked if he didn't get confirmed, because you're just going to get another similar person, and we'll see how it goes from there. All right, so you mentioned ADP report. We're going to get to that and other fun topics, right, Shar? Woo. When we return from these important messages.
I'm having fun already.
Do you have a big move coming up? I'm Scott Nadler with CrossCountry Mortgage, and I've got the loan to match your dream home. Whether it's your first or your fifth, I'll make the process quick and easy. Call me today. Let's make it happen.
Sedgh and Zuckerman is a boutique residential law firm guiding you and your clients every step of the way with a solution-oriented approach. Make sure to work with a deal maker and not a deal breaker. Contact us today at sznylaw.com.
All right, and we're back. So we did mention that
a lot of stimulus around here.
I know, it's
right. They're all talking about the Fed chairman. It's crazy.
You know, it's funny. I'm sure you try not to listen to the conversations, but sometimes a word resonates in your head. Lena's nodding her head. It's like, yeah. And she has headphones on. But it shows you what professionals we are. That we can just brush all this insane noise behind us.
Locked in.
We're done.
And a jealous Vince Rocco hiding over there, acting like he's really the big shot in this room.
He was so desperate to pull a chair up here.
He's going to be so mad when he watches this back. So ADP, we don't have a jobs report coming out Friday because of the government shutdown, which is now over, but not quick enough. So ADP is the source, 22,000 private sector jobs. That's less than half what we were looking for, so that's not good news. Downwardly revised data for the prior month and last year, not by 900,000 jobs, but it was interesting to look at the data. Job growth was very strong, 4.5% year over year. That's really good considering that prices are up less than 3%. Now, there's a lot of people that say that that's
We'll
not.
go back to that in a second.
What was that? We'll go back
I want to go back to that in a second.
But one of the things that was interesting is the only real sector to create a significant amount of jobs, remember, these are private sector jobs, education and health services.
That's it.
And why don't we like that, Scott, Nadler? Because they're government-supported industries.
Right. They're not
But go ahead,
creating.
you always have a take on this.
That's it. No, you just hit it. The quality of jobs that are out there, these are not the jobs that, when you're looking at employment growth in the economy and strength, you're looking for jobs outside of healthcare and education. We are not saying those jobs are not essential and really important. Of course they are. But small businesses, large businesses, creating more job opportunities for people, income producing jobs, those education and healthcare don't fall into those categories. So that's what I think the overall market is looking for. And if it wasn't for education and healthcare, what would the numbers have been? I mean, it would have been like negative.
Well, that was
after
60,
the revisions, it may be negative anyway.
It was plus 74,000. So yeah, that is a significant thing. I mean, if you take it out, the only other sectors to add jobs: trade, transportation, utilities, leisure and hospitality. Financial activity is up 14,000. What was interesting, Shar Sedgh, you're a small business owner. Can I call you that? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
What we've seen lately in these reports is it's been the large companies doing the hiring, which is surprising because, but you hear more about large company layoffs than small company layoffs.
Right.
Since small companies don't file warn notices.
I think a large part of that probably is AI because they're investing so much in AI.
But this month, last month actually, it was the large establishments over 500 employees lost 18,000 jobs.
Right.
The sweet spot was between 50 to 500. So the under 50 was actually zero, with 1 to 19 employees up 30,000 and 20 to 49 down 30,000. But you deal with other small firms. Lawyers tend to be that way. I know that your business is probably a little more steady, but how do you feel as a small business owner in this environment?
I mean, listen, first of all, you're not hearing about my hirings and firings because the New York Times isn't responding to my calls every time I tell them I hire a paralegal. But I don't think, from our perspective, our market isn't so volatile that I'm constantly hiring and firing staff. Our business model is based on longevity. I want people who've been there, who know what they're doing. And, as an owner of the business, you sort of have to anticipate in our business high interest rates, low interest rates, hot market, cold market. I can't staff myself for when it's really, really busy, because when it gets cold, I'm out. Right, I'm out of pocket for that salary, or I have to fire people. But if I hire as if I'm at the bottom of the market, I'm not going to be able to provide when we're busy. So as a small business owner, you can't hear this jobs report and react from it. It doesn't really impact my business as much. Maybe the higher end market may slow down a little bit, but those entry-level co-ops, 1-2 bedroom deals, those are people who are getting married, having kids. They need to sell and move and come out of renting. So we're not really impacted as much.
I'll say also our market is a little different, where New York employment's been pretty stable. And one thing that Shar and I spoke about last week was mortgage contingencies and whether or not you can waive a contingency. And I spoke to several clients within the last week about that exact topic, whether they can waive it and what are the risks involved. And I said, the part that's on you is your income, your assets, and your credit scores, right? If something were to happen with any one of those three, you go to Vegas and liquidate all of your assets, you lose your job, your credit score drops, that's on you. And each person that I spoke to said with their job, they're very stable. Like there's no scenario where they could see themselves right now being let go.
Well, it's no hire, no fire. We keep saying it on. I have a question for you though, Shar, because I would think that the legal profession is one that could be severely impacted by AI as a way to review contracts, write contracts, and other documents. You got any thoughts on that? Is this something you're thinking about?
Listen, we've certainly seen that AI is a big theme of the event these past couple of days. Agents are incorporating it into their processes. There's a big movement of how to transition from contract to closing using AI. And attorneys certainly are also finding ways to do that. A, in marketing yourself to brokers and clients, and B, making sure your clients get an easy, a better experience all around. I think at the end of the day, even though we're lawyers, we're reading contracts and negotiating, we're still dealing with people who are buying homes, selling homes. It's the biggest investment that they've made, sometimes the most stressful moments of their lives. And there's no way.
They want a person, just like you want a person on the customer service line.
Yeah, they need somebody who's empathetic to them.
No, they just want a lawyer that they can grab and shake if they're unhappy.
And any attorney, any loan officer, any broker you talk to, every client is different. Everybody's sensitive about different things. So although, yes, there are some things where you can incorporate AI as far as getting into contract and due diligence, I think the interaction with the clients are not going to be able to be replaceable.
What about you, Scott? Now, I mean, when I do reports, I'm trying to use AI to proof stuff, run comparisons, which of course I then have to check. It's kind of like your Tesla. When you use the self-driving, you still have to keep your hands on the wheel. It's like, when are we going to be able to let go of it? That's why I don't pay for it. But have you found really good uses for it in your business, or is it still I mean, you want that direct connection, but where can it save you time, I guess?
I think on the back end,
Yeah.
you know, the processing, the underwriting. We have 50 different lender sets of guidelines. Fannie Mae's guidelines, over 1,000 pages. To be able to plug that into AI and find a guideline like that saves you so much time and is so valuable. So I think on that end of it, it makes things like the process itself should be a lot smoother. Marketing, being able to follow up, having systems in place to know XYZ client is at 7%.
Right.
This system is in place to tell us when it hits their strike rate, a rate that makes sense for them to refinance. We're going to be alerted. Our incredible systems in place. But to your point, I don't care if we're working with someone who's buying a $200,000 co-op, or we're working with someone now who's buying a $4.5 million townhome. They're texting us. They want to hop on a call. They want to talk about different aspects of it. Our ability to communicate and be responsive. I mean, Shar is one of the most responsive people you'll come across, right?
I know, he tells me that all the time.
Speed is so important. And being able to be correct in what you're saying, coupled with your speed and responsiveness, is what people want. And I think the people that are able to adapt and incorporate AI into their business and also have that skill set, the ability to communicate with clients, are the ones that are going to separate themselves from everyone else.
But it's clear, no matter how you look at AI, you have to learn it, you know, because it can do some wonderful things.
Right.
And we're just scratching the surface of this stuff.
One last thing I'll say. I almost feel like AI is being implemented at such a fast pace, and people want to adapt it so quickly, and a lot of people are afraid of it, that there might be like a little bit of a turn where when I'm calling someone and I get them on the phone, they're almost like excited that like they're actually on the phone with someone and we can have an actual
Did you ever
conversation.
try to sound like a robot just to mess with them?
No, I don't have that ability. You can have that skill set. As an
You're gonna
economist,
see though a lot of I don't want to say let's say the veteran agents who have sort of seen the market in the last 30 years. The amount of the way that technology has changed every 5 to 10 years, they've had to shift their skill set. And there was a broker who recently told me, I just learned how to post a TikTok. Now I got to learn how to use ChatGPT to get clients. And he's doing it though. He's doing it.
Hey, you should tell them you learn how to use email, right? You learn how to attach a file. You learn how to use DocuSign. You can handle this.
Listen, it's still a relationship business, right? So the top mortgage brokers, the top real estate agents, they are on the phone all day long. The top attorneys, and they're developing relationships.
When I refer clients to a loan officer or to an insurance agent or to whatever, I tell them, look beyond the numbers, get a feel for the guy's personality. This is somebody you're going to talk to every day for the next 90 days. If it's somebody that irritates you, that doesn't respect you, that doesn't respond well to you, your experience is going to be much worse. Get a feel for their personalities. And I think that's why you're so successful. It baffles me about some other people, but
was that a dig at me?
No. There's a guy behind you.
Surely it was.
We won't show him.
But
We're
really,
on my own show. What come on.
Personality really though pops out of the page a little bit, and really you'll see the successful people know how to relate to.
See, now I know you're talking about me when you say that.
Shar and we're working with a client together right now. He's representing her, we're doing the loan. Something unforeseen happened with her deal. And these things happen out of everyone's control. You want Shar and you want someone like myself with you when something unforeseen happens, because we know we've been here before. We know how to navigate it. And she may panic, and she's one of these clients that needs a lot of hand-holding, but having an amazing team around you that's been there before, that's able to communicate to you and tell you, hey, yes, this might seem like it's the end of the world, but here's why it's not.
Yeah, and her family is out of the country. She's here alone, sort of navigating this like world that she's never heard of with people in her ear. So she likes that she surrounds herself with people that she can trust.
All right, that's enough glazing of you two guys to use the Gen Z word. We have to take another break for some more messages, and we'll be right back.
Glazing.
Hi, I'm Evan Greenberg with Langdon Title. I specialize in title insurance across New York. helping real estate attorneys, agents, and brokers close with confidence. I solve problems fast and keep your deals moving. Contact me anytime.
Looking to stage a property but on a tight budget and timeline? Stage with Stage and Fold. Stylish, lightweight, foldable, 3D printed cardboard furniture that looks real. Quick delivery and easy assembly. Staging starts at just $199 a month per room, and setup takes less than 30 minutes. Contact us today to stage smarter, sell faster, save thousands with Stage and Fold.
And we're back. And the noise is still here, but
very noisy.
consummate professionals that we are, we endure. All right, so interesting article this morning about some cool mortgage information. So
Isn't all mortgage information
to you, loan daddy,
I was going to say a
but
sentence that's never been said before.
mortgages aren't cool to me because I have to pay one every month. But outside of that, you know, it did help me buy the home.
There you go.
So about 20% of borrowers have mortgage rates over 6%. That's the latest data. But here's an interesting thing. If the average 30-year mortgage moved to 6%, which it's almost there, 5.5 million current homeowners could benefit from a refinance. Can you make that many phone calls, loan daddy?
This is where AI would really help, I gotta say.
And a bulk email
Yes.
program. Now, this is what we keep talking about is, you know, percentage of people have 3% mortgages is shrinking and shrinking.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing more people that can refinance, because we've seen refinance booms, we've seen purchase booms, but they haven't always moved together. But this may be that momentum.
You're right. And we get asked all the time, when does it make sense for me to refinance? Does the rate have to drop by 0.5%, 1%? And the answer is, it's a lawyer answer. It depends, right?
Don't you hate that answer? Oh, you love that answer.
Love that answer.
Economists use that all the time too, so don't worry about it.
And the main thing for people to look at is what their break-even point is, right? When are the costs to refinance going to equal the savings? And one thing we're seeing a lot more of, which is a newer trend, is someone in my position can offer someone three options. Their base interest rate with no additional points and no credits, so they're not getting anything back from that lender. They can offer them a lower rate, but in order to get that lower rate, they need to pay a fee. You're paying points. Or you can offer someone a higher rate, but in return for that higher rate, you're getting a credit. More and more
To offset
people,
your closing costs.
To offset your closing costs. More and more people are opting for that third option, to take a slightly higher rate, which still translates to a lower payment versus where they currently are, but they're getting money back to offset their closing costs, and maybe not to zero, but to offset it slightly. Not even slightly, maybe to make a pretty sizable dent. Which is interesting. So showing clients those options is opening their eyes up. And to that article's point, there are a lot of opportunities out there for a lot of people. The challenge is underwriting. When someone started a new business, or they switched jobs, or they got paid as a W-2, and now they're 1099, that's where the challenge comes into play. But starting early with people and pre-underwriting their files is what we're doing with a lot of clients right now.
The difference between those two classifications, one's an employee, one is an independent contractor.
Right.
Just for those at home or wherever you're listening to this wonderful podcast.
Exactly. That is the main reason why I was running late today, because we were talking to a lot of people. We were on the phone a little bit longer than
Is he going to blame this on us, Shar? I mean, come on. You're the
Blame
one who
it on
wants
the,
to be. You were getting your hair
refinances.
done. We all know that, okay?
I was getting my makeup done. I wasn't getting the hair done.
Yeah.
Getting the fake stubble brushed on. So, Shar, what do you think about this? Are you seeing people? We've talked about like mortgage contingencies, also breaking contracts. are people getting antsy about like, oh no, wait, like, can we push this? I think I might be able to get a lower rate. Are you seeing any of that yet? I would think that rates have been in this range long enough that people should just be comfortable.
Yeah, I feel like we talked a little bit about this earlier also. Like, we don't want volatility when it comes to our business. I want, you see the most number of deals when you have status quo, when people aren't trying to jump in and out of the peaks and valleys that we have. If you know rates are within an eighth or a quarter of a point, you know where your monthly payments are going to be. You know what co-op is going to approve you. You know what price you can afford. But as soon as you start playing that game where rates are going to go up, rates are going to go down, that's where you see people stay on the sidelines.
Right.
And sometimes, though, just the anticipation of a rate drop brings people off the sidelines, and investors and developers trying to get in there and sort of get in.
Now, do you have to play lender sometimes to remind people, yes, there's going to be a new chairman of the Fed, but he doesn't get his job till May? Do you feel like you have to remind? You're a lawyer. Lawyer make the best Fed chairman, so you should be able to tell them exactly. In fact, tell me what's going to happen.
Greg seems bitter about all these lawyers that are taking over.
Again, when I'm president of the Bar Association, then I'll feel the playing field is level. Oh, Ray, you just walk back here. We know you weren't here before. Don't
Ray can't hear us. You can't hear us clearly.
And I'm getting photoed while I'm doing all this stuff. Get my good side, Kevin. I know that may be from behind.
Paparazzi all over him.
Yeah, gee, I can't go anywhere.
But I do represent a lot of lenders, so I'm not just doing the transactional side. So I do see a lot of what Scott's saying as well. And the main point is, you refinance as soon as the savings are going to exceed the costs. And it takes 5 minutes to do that once you get somebody like Scott on the phone.
All right, so last topic here, before we make Super Bowl predictions. We always talk about housing affordability. There's a housing crisis. We need to build more homes. And there was an interesting article that was entitled, Why Nobody Really Knows the Scale of the U.S. Housing Crisis.
Nobody knows what?
Why nobody really knows the scale of the U.S. housing crisis.
We can't hear a thing over here.
Okay.
So it talks about how Moody's is estimating we need 2 million homes, new homes. Goldman Sachs, 3 million. Zillow, 4 million. And some people in Congress, 20 million homes. But it makes some interesting points. Housing vacancies are very low for owned homes, single-family homes. But there are a lot of people out there saying that the shortage isn't as bad, that we have a shortage of homes for lower income people, for sure, but every other segment is reasonably supplied. It's like in Manhattan. Trying to get a studio is very hard because they're not really making them anymore, and they're affordable. As you go up the ladder, there's more inventory.
And when you have rent-stabilized apartments or rent-controlled apartments,
right, that hurts the rental people.
That hurts because we have clients that are overqualified for a rent-stabilized apartment, but they can't move, right? They're staying in those, so they're trying to find ways to get like a second home or somewhere, but someone who can afford a second home shouldn't be in a rent-stabilized apartment.
I think the problem is, like, we always hear in Manhattan, like, we're always building super luxury skyscrapers. We're not building affordable housing. I go to Texas to visit my brother. There's construction going up everywhere. I don't know who's going to buy it, I think the problem is where there's land, there isn't the demand. And where there's demand, there's no land. Hey, that was pretty good. I just made that up now, Shar. Copyright that phrase for me, will you?
Done.
But I guess that's the frustration people feel, right? Affordable is a relative term, to people, because everybody has different factors that go into that. But I guess building more is great. But if you're not building the right product, like you look at the month supply of homes for new home sales, it's significantly higher than existing home sales. Existing home sale prices are higher than new home sale prices now.
There's a ton of developers waiting to get into the market, but they need their long-term rates to come down. They need construction costs to come down.
And they need to sell their existing stuff.
Exactly, but once you're able to do that, the market automatically will fix itself. And when you say 20 million homes, 2 million homes, that's on a national level. If you carve New York out, it's very different. And then if you go within the different localities of New York, you go out to Long Island, nobody there is going to tell you there's a lot of inventory.
Especially if I'm trying to sell my house. I'm going to say there's no inventory.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to sell my house. I love my house.
So again, it's hard to take what they're saying on these like macro levels and apply it to what we're seeing in New York in our localities.
All real estate is local, isn't it, Scott Nadler?
That is true. I remember when they were.
Everybody cheering for your statement.
Yeah.
I would like to
fans
say
over
they were
here.
cheering for me, but I think the group photo might have had something to do with it.
What a fan
They're
club.
missing the three most famous people here, though. That's the problem. I'm sorry, Scott. Oh, sure, Vince Rocco got in the photo. How could you miss that head? I mean, come on.
Sorry about that, guys.
Who knew?
Love you, Greggy.
Say into the microphone.
We love you, Greggy.
The only person who could crash.
Hey, bud.
What's up?
That is our CEO, Bess Freeman, and our co-president, Itzy Garay.
And keynote speaker.
popping in. Keynote speaker, famous. I mean, it's like Elvis walking around, people following her. Now I've lost my train of thought completely.
Super Bowl
None of
picks.
the speakers are in the mortgage industry or
Lawyers.
Were there
Real
any
estate.
economists speaking today?
I don't think so. I think it's
If
all
you
real
don't have
estate.
me, you
I'm gonna go
don't
take
know.
the mic. I'm gonna go take the mic before I get out of here.
We got to follow him while he does that and film that, because that's going to be gold.
I was just going to add that, it does seem like it's one extreme or another. I remember a couple of years back when they were building those micro apartments.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
When they were like...
Oh, like a lot of these prefab things.
Yeah,
It's like, we'll just drop
exactly.
your house off.
Exactly. And then, to your point, they have these major developments also, $20 million apartments. So finding that sweet spot, but there's a large group of people that would fit into that wheelhouse of those, more affordable in New York
Right.
price points. But we also live in a city where there's a lot more turnover than the national average.
Yeah.
People do stay in their apartments here 5 to 7 years and then move, whereas in other suburbs, it'll be longer. Might stay there closer to 10 to 15, even plus years.
Well, I think the thing is, with development, whether it's here in Manhattan or anywhere across the country, you're thinking a couple of years out. And for the longest time, after the financial crisis, it was build larger apartments, build larger homes, McMansions, right? Now, there's too many of those. Not here, where, the super luxury is doing great here. But for the rest of the country, they don't have what they need. And that's why there's been this disconnect between the new home sales and the existing home sales. It's great. It's very easy for anybody to go up and say, we need to build more homes. Inventory is a way to combat this problem, but it's got to be the right inventory. Right. One of the funniest things, I'll have one of our brokers call me up and it's like, there's nothing for sale. And I'm like, what do you mean? There's like 6,000 apartments for sale in Manhattan. And they go, nobody wants those. So isn't that always the case, Shar?
There's a reason they're for sale. You got to be in a good building, priced well, and you'll move quickly.
I have a question.
Oh my God, how desperate is Vince for publicity that
hello.
he hijacks my show? Go ahead.
Only because we love him. We have a competition here, either number one and number two. I'm going to leave it up to you all to come up with who's number one and who's number two, right?
Don't ask Greg.
All I got to ask the viewers at home is,
I'm asking the audience.
or Vince's viewers, do you see me crashing his show?
Well, you can. You weren't here. We love you.
Always a pleasure to see my good buddy Vince Rocco.
All I hear every time he says number two is Austin Powers, which means if he's number two, you're Dr. Evil.
Exactamundo. Hey,
Lena got the Ruby reference. All right.
call me whatever you want as long as I'm number one. That's all. No, Vince is a great. Vince really pioneered this whole format of real estate. He's been doing it since before Nadler was born. So,
It's a
it's,
class
I have
act.
to say, he's shaking hands and taking pictures like a
well,
celebrity.
he's nicer than me. He's a nicer guy. But I did, doing his show a couple of times before I had my own, and he's a very giving guy. He really is. It's funny because since my office, you guys know, is right next to the studio, he comes in on Tuesday mornings, has his coffee, steals my scissors and tape, and we always have a nice chat. He's
Well,
a great
very
guy.
Did you ever
different
see-
formats.
Did you ever see how, they definitely are. The vibes
Very
are very
different
different.
formats, very successful shows, but completely different
Did you ever
formats.
see the crossovers of like The Simpsons and Family Guy? where
Yeah, of course.
I
what you
think
gotta do.
we need to do a crossover episode here.
No, but it's funny.
There's not enough airtime.
We've done it.
It's true.
He's been on
Not
this
enough
show. I've done his show since he's more like Merv Griffin. He's got the guests. He asks good questions. He gets
That's a great,
good one.
great reference.
He's got the note cards.
I don't know who I'm like, but I'll let you guys.
Yeah.
Buddy Hackett, no.
Yeah, a lot less structured on this show.
Well, I think, for me, I give a lot of speeches like you guys do. You talk a lot of talk to a lot of sales meetings, film a lot of videos. It's always best to ad-lib it
The audience doesn't know that oftentimes we don't know what topics we're going to
I didn't text them today. I'm not going to repeat what Shar sent me a text a couple hours before the show saying, "Oh, we're going to bleep and do it live."
Those was a Bill O'Reilly.
The Bill O'Reilly thing. So it's best if you just see where it goes. It's like, gigging with Nikki. She's a lawyer. Everybody's a bleeping lawyer. So she wants a set list. She wants to know the exact timing of everything. I'm like, no. You can pick the first song. From there, we see who's here, what they're digging. And, by the way, we had such a great gig on Saturday. Now we're playing on Valentine's Day.
Whoa.
So come down to the third rail in Belmore. No exorbitant prices, regular menu, great music, great food. See the Nikki and Greg experience.
Your wife must be so happy.
She loves it. She just sits there and eats and drinks and gabs with Nikki's husband and the other friends that are there.
What's the go-to love song that you'll be playing?
The funny thing is we talked to, and the owner of the pub was like, just throw in some, make sure you throw in love songs. With me and Nikki, it's more like, you're no good, you ought to know, stuff like that. And it's like the anti-love songs. We do love songs to make you feel my love, but we also do Jolene, which is a song about a woman trying to, like any woman can steal a man away from Dolly Parton. That can never happen. But my partner, Pat, is going to come, and we do a lot of love songs. A lot of Stevie Wonder, Beatles, a lot of the great songs, the Motown stuff. So that's always good. So it should be a nice mix of I love you, I hate you. Yeah. Which isn't that what we want on Valentine's Day? Because there will be people that probably hate the day. It's like, all right, now do the breakup songs. But anyhow, so, all right, we got a couple minutes. Actually, we got as long as I say we have, but hopefully people are watching this before the Super Bowl. But let's get on record with predictions. What do you think?
31-27 Seattle.
Oh, I don't think it's going to be that close. I don't think it'll be that close. Maybe just because I hate the Pats. I was going to go...
Everybody, this is New York. You better hate the
28-10. Like, I want it to be boring. I want them to go ahead early.
I'm just kind of rooting for a close game also, but...
No.
See, the interesting thing here is, Drake May hasn't looked particularly
What's the spread?
Good. I don't even know.
No. I don't know either.
I don't sports gamble, but... May hasn't really had the phenomenal game. Look, he didn't have to do much to beat Denver, which they barely managed to do. But you could look at Seattle, the lowest points allowed in the NFL. They didn't look so good defensively, and they could have just as easily lost that game to the Rams.
Right.
So I think Seattle too, but I think it's more like a 17-10 game or something. I could see it being a lot closer because of how well coached New England is. I think you don't think of them as a stellar defense, but Vrabel certainly knows how to win Super Bowls, and he knows how to play defense, and he knows how to prepare his guys. So I think we're all picking Seattle, but maybe by different spreads. I know that all us Jet fans out there are rooting for Seattle, primarily for Sam Darnold. He got screwed over by the Jets and the league, basically. It's great to see him. He's done something nobody's ever done. He's won 14 games back-to-back with two different teams.
That's right.
I just find in these games, you want to avoid as many self-inflicted wounds as you can.
Right.
So you find that the defense will kind of be a little passive in the beginning because you don't want to commit a pass interference, something like that opens things up for the offense a little bit more.
But you also need to take risks. You saw Philly with the Philly special, right? That was a heart dagger when they scored.
Oh, the Nick Foles.
The Nick Foles one, and then
that's why I think it might be a little bit higher.
Right.
And
higher score.
And you saw New Orleans come out of the half one year kicking onside kicks. You got to get out of your comfort level a little bit, but you're right. It always starts a little close to the vest. You want to get a feel for what's working, what's not, and then you got to let it fly.
But how many of these games this year have been decided by one, not just one play, one penalty? Anyway, all right, I'm told we have to leave it at that. Shar Sedgh, Esquire, Sedgh and Zuckerman, Lone Daddy, Scott Nadler, CrossCountry, Greg Heym,
Chief
Brown Harris Stevens, and Ray and Lena Brown Harris Stevens. Thank you to all our supporters out there. We love doing the show. We love that you love it. CTL@bhsusa.com.
Back in the studio next week.
Back in the studio next week. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you.